Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, or TigerTank12, however you want to call me. I don't really care. But today, TigerTank12 actually doesn't really fit because I have finally, fulfilled my promise to myself to record some other gameplay and something else than World of Tanks. And today I'm gonna start with this video, a new series where I'll be featuring first-person shooters, and I'll start with this game, which you can see right now, and this is called Verdun. I know a lot of you guys probably know this already, that I'm a very, very interested individual in history, and I know my friends right now probably are all groaning inside, like, oh shit, not again, because I'm very interested in history and much, well, pretty much in war. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a war fanatic, but I do read, or I do really like to read about the battles, especially about World War One and World War Two. Now, this is why I'm gonna start this series with Verdun, and this is a first-person shooter, which is an indie title which came out a year ago and is actually right now witnessing a big numbers of players because the developers are really, really active, and that's a very nice thing, actually. So what you can see right here is the opening menu of Verdun. It's in German because, well, I play most of my games in German since since my mother tongue is German, and you can see the pretty much the front line that is in World War One, that was between Germany and France and the Benelux states. So we'll jump right in. We're gonna go to Argonnen. So if you didn't know what Verdun was, that was a very, very, very brutal battle in World War One, which happened in 1917, and pretty much the the Germans were fighting against the French and the British on French soil, and it was a big bloodbath, resulting in the death of over 1 million people. So why did I choose Verdun? Well, it's the most authentic World War One shooter that is out there right now, and it is really, really tactical. I'm a tactical player, and there's really a lot of stuff going on in this game. It's actually quite slow paced. There's team damage, so you can kill your friendlies if you're not careful enough, and it relies heavily on team play and on following the objectives. So we're currently playing as the British, with the coalition of French soldiers, and we're currently holding a trench, and there we go. And the thing is that in this game, one bullet kills. If you hit somebody, is it the chest, is it the head, is it the leg? Well, leg could be not an instant kill, but if you hit the chest or somewhere in the upper body parts from the waist up, it's pretty much a guarantee kill. And right there you can see that we have to try to defend our trenches, and everybody gets turns because World War One. The ridiculous part about thing about World War One was that at the beginning it was like a blitzkrieg from from the standpoint of the Germans, where they were almost in 2 weeks at the gates of Paris before the French actually managed to hold them off at a certain line, and there was the Battle of the Somme. And now I can really get into some historical detail here, because I've wanted to do this for quite some time. So right here, the objective is obviously to hold out and to hold this trench, and to keep the Germans from pressing on and taking our trench away. And we have some time that we have to hold the trench, and afterwards it is our time to pretty much storm their trenches. And that was the ridiculous thing in World War One, because there we go. The people. It was the first big conflict with where the entire world was involved. Oh no no no! It's a German. Ah, damn it! I was still reloading. I'm pretty new to the game, so it was the first big conflict where the entire world was involved, and it was a very special conflict because this was the first conflict where they threw in thousands, hundreds of thousands of soldiers and so much of materials. Like the first tanks came in with in World War One, and pretty much from there on, these huge battles took place. And yeah, so it is very accurate historically, at least. It looks a little bit arcadey, but there's actually quite a lot of tactical depth to this game, which I really like. And I can explain this to you right now. Everybody has their different role as a class. Obviously, at that time in World War One, there were mostly just infantrymen with what do you call this? These are semi-automatic rifles, exactly. So that was the time where the machine gun was actually first introduced, and there is a version in this game, but it's really only available for a certain type of class, and it's really strong, but it's also very impractical to use. And since this was the time where there weren't any machine pistols, and the pistols and the rifles were dominating, it was pretty much man-to-man in those trenches. And the trench combat was very brutal, which I think this game does display quite nice, because you're running around, you have your gun, and you shoot these guys. If you don't have any more ammunition, you just pick your bayonet and you try to stab them. And I mean, it may sound a little bit ridiculous that, like, by playing this game, you get reminded of history, and that World War One was definitely, like, any war is bad, but World War One was definitely a terrible scenario, and that you never want to have something like this happen again. Because I mean, this trench combat is really intense, and you can see how fast you can die. So of course, World War One, first big war where they used massive amounts of artillery, where they used airplanes for the first time in thousands of planes in one battle, or tanks, which I of course think is very interesting, because I'm a huge tanks fan, and World of Tanks has been my main game for quite long. And I mean, they were introduced in World War One, and the tanks. So as you can see right there, we've just captured the trench again, recaptured it from the Germans, and I'm trying to clean up the remnants of the German assaulting force. And actually, a grenade just killed me, M15 hand grenade. So yeah, the tanks that were introduced in World War One, and it was quite spectacular. They're these steel beasts that were suddenly roaming on the battlefield, but were actually very bad constructed and quite flawed, because the armor was not withstanding enough. Well, it was not thick enough. The armor was not thick enough to stop machine gun fire, so you could actually pierce through the tanks with machine gun fire in some tanks, and they got stuck on the battlefield quite often because of the trenches and all the systems. You know, when There was like dead man's land between the trenches where there was just absolutely nothing, and these tanks got stuck there because of all the shell holes that were created by artillery barrages, and that is just pretty much why the tanks were not that efficient. And there were not many tanks because such a tank was obviously a very expensive thing, a very expensive war tool to have. I just got blown up by artillery actually, and yeah, pretty much tanks were not as efficient in this kind of war scenario, but the psychological effect that they had on the enemy was horrendous. One tank on the enemy side could demoralize the entire enemy front line, just because of that steel beast that was roaming but was not actually very effective. So that was a little bit about the historical background of tanks in World War One, and in general World War One. You can see I'm very, very interested in this topic. But I just want to say that I'm not, it's not like this war was a gift to humanity. They did invent a lot of technologies through this war, or every war in general, but still countless of people died. So, yeah. So this is just a game. I just want to come back to this. It is a game. There we go. We got one. It is just a game, so the fun is also very important. So I myself have quite a lot of fun because this is a very tactical game. It is a shooter which pretty much, well, it does reward you if you play correctly, and it does really, really wreck you if you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. And since it's really tough to get into, because there's like no tutorial. There are tutorials, but there's like no real help to get you into the battle, and the class system is a little bit confusing. It can be quite a steep entrance to this game if you really want to pick it up. Otherwise, it's a very, very nice, authentic, tactical World War One shooter with quite a lot of intense action, especially if you're like the last guy in your trench. And since it's also this is very important. It is based on the squad system, so that there's a squad leader and everybody has their different roles. Unfortunately, we just got destroyed by a grenade again. And that the squad leader, of course, can be used as a spawn point. So that means if a squad leader is alive, still in the ditch, and everybody's trying to spawn on him, a forward spawn, or else you'll just spawn in your trench, it can get really intense because, of course, the people will target the squad leaders because the squad leader usually has very nice markings and looks like an officer, and the officer looks really, really nice even in World War One. They did not really believe in deceiving enemies, so the officers in World War One were highly decorated and easy targets for everyone to shoot at. Like right there, that was actually an officer, and I just took care of him. So yeah, currently I am a rifleman, the standard class. The officer does have a few different class setups, and you can use different weapons, but it is rather confusing because I don't really get the leveling up system. There are levels here, and it's I don't really know the unlockables yet because I haven't played that many hours in this game, but I did have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, you cannot drive tanks because it would be really hard to balance that, and as you can see, it was a draw. They were not able to push into our field, and we were not able to push into their trench because their assault was still going on. So yeah, so pretty much you can see that there were some unlockables right here, and that was pretty much unit unlockables, like for rifleman, the gunner, which can use the machine gun, the bomber, which will probably be using a lot of explosives and grenades, and the corporal, which is pretty much the leader, the officer, who does have like special abilities like calling in an airstrike or air reconnaissance, which is really important. A good officer can really sometimes shift or change the tide of battle, which is quite hard in this game to do all by yourself, because taking a trench by yourself is pretty much impossible, because you need the manpower to pretty much to dominate the enemy team in the trench. Only if you have the bigger numbers in the trench, you'll be able to take the trench, and you'll need to hold the trench from enemy counter attacks. So right now we have a very nice battlefield, as you can see right here, the different trench systems, and this is just the barren wasteland in the middle. Everybody's shooting themselves right now, and it's really hard to see enemies. And actually, it's our time to engage, so we'll just do that right now, and we'll try to get into a favorable position, which is probably by going down either one of the flanks, either left side or right side. The middle is, as always, or as usual, barren death zone, since everybody's aiming for that. And if you can get into the trench at the side, you'll be actually doing quite good if you know how to... Oh, damn it. Yeah, I was executed because I was outside of the battlefield. So that was not on purpose. As you can see right here, my squad leader is dead and is back in my trench. And you can see the visuals of this game are... Well, they're top-notch, in my opinion. They're, of course, not on the level of a Battlefield, but for an indie title, I think it's definitely a very, very nice touch. Oh, damn it. There's a machine gun right there, I think. And we were taken out. I tried to snipe him. As you can see right here, this St. Clair, the officer, just took care of the machine gun nest, and he threw his grenade a little bit, not far enough. So let's try to get down the left side of the map. Now, of course, playing this game with a friend or with teammates, with friends, people you know, is of course a lot more rewarding. And okay, I see why nobody's going the left side, because you're way too open. Unfortunately, it's really hard to get over to the other side, and you would really need smoke. I'm not sure if there's smoke in the game, but it would be a nice addition, and it should be included, that at least the officer can use smoke. As you can see right here, we're currently... I'm not trying to move. Ah, damn it, he saw me. We're trying to engage these guys right there, because they have gotten a very strong position right now. Oh, I'm spotted. I'm dead. It's really hard to push one side, and this is like the challenge of the game. And now it's their turn, and this is going to be a very interesting thing, because they do have the high ground, but we do also have one place where we can use the height to our advantage, because oh, they actually are already up there. And grenade! And they were actually quite faster than we were. Why am I the only one firing at that guy? We got one. We missed the other one, unfortunately. And we have to retake that hill, because that is our Achilles heel and our most important and best fortified place of the map. They're dropping nades. Oh, you can see that guy just got decimated. Ah, yeah. They're trying to get us in there, and they have set up an ambush actually. So I'm not really good with commentaries in like first-person shooters because, well, I'm definitely not a pro at this game, as you can see. But I do like to talk about World War One, but I'm not sure if you guys are interested in anything of like this. So just pretty much just put it in the comments and tell me. It's very important here that you look before you shoot, because the name of your teammate gets displayed very, very late on. Actually, there's a machine gun, a Maxim machine gun, a British World War One machine. Oh, we just got stabbed in the back. We were too focused on that one guy. And actually, I can change to bomber, which either has a revolver or a rifle and a hand grenade, which might be quite useful to clean out these freaking trenches. As you can see, we're still holding the trench, and there are still like 19 minutes left on the clock. But of course, don't worry, I'm not gonna record all those 19 minutes. I will cut this a little bit shorter. I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends think this game is quite boring because of the action, which is not as prominent as in other AAA titles out there. So actually, at the moment, we don't have anyone in the trench, and we need to fill that hole. That is our priority right now. I just thought that was a head. Here we go. Take one out. We do have a hand grenade, so... Oh, we actually pull out the gas mask. And we get shot in the face. So yeah, pretty much there are some different game modes as well, like team deathmatch and stuff, but the real star obviously here is the trench combat. Trying to retake the trenches is actually just as hard as taking a trench. And you can see sometimes you don't even see the enemies, so that's that's quite interesting. You definitely need to get used to it, but otherwise it's a very, very rewarding experience if you just are open-minded towards this game and you really try try your best. So we're gonna throw 2 grenades right now. We actually don't hit anyone. Ah, we get one. And this is why you always need to check the trenches very thoroughly, because targets may use the height to their advantage. We're getting shot at from... And I actually just got destroyed by artillery once more. So yeah, pretty much this was a little preview of the game Verdun. I'm not sure, but this is my first-person shooter that I'm gonna upload on this new series for not World of Tanks, but for my YouTube channel. And I'm gonna see. There are a lot more first-person shooters that I really want to upload, but I think this is a very good start. It's a little bit hardcore, don't worry. It's gonna get a little bit less tactical. Sometimes there's some, some funny first-person shooters as well that are more action-packed than this. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.